What's going on YouTube? It's Glenford here, and today I want to talk about something a little different that I want to talk about a lot more of in the future, and that is why I love Savage Worlds. In case you haven't noticed already, I'm a big fan. Today I'm going to be talking about how Savage Worlds has the ability to balance both macro and micro levels of gameplay. What does that mean? Let's find out. Okay, let's start with micro gameplay, because that's probably what you're the most familiar with, depending on which system you prefer. If you're ever on a tactical combat map, you're in a micro level of gameplay. Anytime you are kind of like zooming in on the action, that's going to be micro. If you're zoomed out, that's macro. A really good way to think about this is if you've ever played like a real-time strategy game or Pokemon. I don't know if the new Pokemon is like this, but the old Pokemon from my days. You would be kind of walking around on the map and you kind of just be looking around, exploring, and you could interact with things, right? That's kind of like the macro level of the game. But every now and then you would kind of go into the tall grass. You go into the grass and a fight would break out, and then you're in this turn-based combat. Now it's micro level, right? So it doesn't have to be that way, but in most instances it is, right? That's might be something people enjoy, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can zoom out as well. So what does that mean for you and for your game? You're used to micro level combat, where everyone's taking turns, people have initiative, taking turns hitting each other, setting people up, healing, buffing, debuffing, shooting people with arrows. Yeah, that's a thing you're familiar with. Something you might not be familiar with is what about a chase at the micro level? Chases, I feel like, come up quite a bit. It doesn't get a whole lot of love. In Savage Worlds, it does. Their representation of a micro level chase is going to be utilized with the cards, but it does give you a representation of a chase. There are still macro level aspects to it, but I would say compared to the other options that you have in Savage Worlds, it is a chase zoomed in, whereas the dramatic task version of it would be zoomed out, and then the quick encounter, I would say, is zoomed out even more. How much are you interacting with the game versus how much is being narrated? That's kind of my measuring stick on this. So yeah, Savage Worlds does a great job of throwing down some cards. The different cards mean some different things. You get cards, and you have a couple different actions that you can use to move up, move back, if you want to shoot, if you want to maybe steady the vehicle so other people can shoot. All of those things are so intermingled, and yeah, I would say that is micro. Can you actually have like a tactical combat version of a chase in like maybe your Durgeons and Durgans game? Yes, you can. But there's going to be a lot of moving parts and it's going to be complicated, and you're probably going to regret it. If you do have any cool ideas for that, maybe something you've experienced, feel free to drop that in the comments below, because I'm curious. I love to hear new and exciting things. The chase rules, perfect example of something that you may not be used to seeing at a tactical micro level, and Savage Worlds delivers that. Combat is another thing. Combat, obviously, micro level too. Something else that Savage Worlds does at a micro level that a lot of other games don't do is the social conflict. The reason why I say that is in the social conflict, there's some back and forth, and unless you have a great GM that's kind of familiar with some of these options that they have at their disposal, for the most part in games that I've seen or experienced, there's going to be like one persuasion roll or one deception roll. And it's that one roll after they go back and forth, maybe they throw some modifiers on it based on some of the things that they're saying or things that they're doing, and that's it. That's the end of that. There are moments where this should absolutely 110% should get the spotlight, depending on the system that you're playing in. Of course, maybe social dynamics may not be at the forefront of your game. I understand. Where something that you have to do is to convince a group of nobles to help you in something because it's a threat. Another beautiful example, if you've ever seen the movie Kingdom of Heaven, has a really great example of this. The Crusaders want to continue to wipe out the Arabs in the area, and then there's the other side that wants to kind of have a peace with them. They don't want to fight anymore. And you've got one person stands up, says a thing, another person stands up, says a thing, another guy stands up, God wills it! And that's kind of his thing to kind of push people over the edge. How this kind of thing works in Savage Worlds, if your character is at the forefront of this, maybe they are going to stand up and say, well, sire, we need to do this thing because the Mongols are a threat to the east. We have to do something about this now before they show up. They've got lots of horses. Maybe do something that stops horses. What happens is this goes back and forth with not just one roll. Multiple times you will kind of state your case, you will make a roll, it'll be opposed by another roll, and you're getting tokens based on how well you're doing. You have a goal of 3 tokens depending on how well it is you're trying to do and who you're trying to convince. It might just be between you're trying to convince one other person. You also have the option of you in an opposing side attempting to convince somebody. Great micro level persuasion, intimidation, just a social conflict, right? Awesome. Then you have the dramatic tasks. The dramatic tasks, I kind of struggle putting that in a box because I can kind of see that being somewhere in between micro and macro depending on what you're comparing it to. It doesn't have to be in a box, but we'll talk about it anyways. So the dramatic task, this might be zooming in or zooming out depending on your perspective, but this enables you to deal with a dramatic situation that is happening in the here and now. There's something bad that's going to happen if you don't, there's a wave coming, there's a bomb about to blow up, there's always something. You need to rescue a certain amount of hostages. It is a pressing issue and you must deal with it. Stat. The reason why I want to kind of put this into micro is because the classic example, which is in the book, whenever someone is trying to disarm a bomb, you finally get to the bomb, maybe you gotta kind of defend your position around the bomb before other things get to you, and meanwhile there's the person that's actually dealing with the bomb, which that's crazy just by itself, with them messing with the wires, figuring out which wire they need to pull or cut or tamper with. It's a very tense situation. It really highlights what's going on there. Maybe the hostages are tied up around the bomb. Maybe you gotta kind of calm them down. So that kind of introduces more skills, and it's kind of a package deal that's happening. It doesn't have to be a package deal. It could just be, a highlight on one person. The dramatic task, it's certainly getting highlighted in a way that there are tokens involved, there are dice rolls involved, there are absolutely consequences if you mess this up. So don't mess this up. It's a lot of the micro level stuff that I was talking about, right? We do also have macro. You don't have to be a slave to either one of those. You can play with the mechanics as needed for what works for your game. So my name is Glenford. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked the video, hit the like button down below. If you love the video, hit the subscribe button. And if you can't live without it, hit that notification bell. Got a whole lot more RPG Savage Worlds content coming at you. I'd love to hear your comments down below. If you have any of your own opinions in regards to these comments, maybe you want to drop some knowledge on the situation, maybe something else that you would love to see covered, feel free to let me know. I'd even love to hear how you feel about the video, audio, the backgrounds, anything else I've got going on, right? Let me know down in the comments below. My name's Glenford, signing out.